In this video, we will go over how to collect data using the beam image shift method with SerialEM. At this point, the microscope has been aligned and we have loaded a cryogrid with thin ice onto the microscope stage. Now I am going to collect a full grid montage at low magnification. I normally will set the magnification in search mode to 62x and use the 150 micron aperture. To collect a full grid montage, I will select Setup Full Grid Montage under the Navigator tab. Next, I will check the parameters in the montage setup pop-up. When you do this, make sure to check Move Stage instead of Image Shifting, and use Search Parameters in low-dose mode. To collect the montage, click on Start in the Montage Control panel. Okay, so at this point, the montage has been collected. To make the montage a map in the Navigator panel, I will click on Yes on this pop-up. Now I am going to use the Shift to Marker operation to shift the 62x low mag full grid montage relative to search at 210x magnification. To do this, I will add a point on the full grid montage. Typically, I will pick an area near the center of the grid that is visible at both low and medium magnifications. Also, I find it helpful to open a new window of the full grid montage. To do this, you select New Window under Window tab. Now I will change the search magnification to 210 using the Imaging States panel. Alternatively, you can change the magnification in search by selecting Continuous Update in the low-dose window and adjusting the magnification. Now I am going over to the microscope computer to insert the 70 micron condenser aperture. Just a quick explanation, I am using the 70 micron condenser aperture to limit the size of the beam to 2 microns in diameter. That way I don't overexpose the particles when collecting data, as this is a quantifoil grid with our 1.2/1.3 hole spacing. Now I will move the stage to the point I have made on the full grid montage by clicking on Move Stage to XY in the Navigator panel. After that, I will take a search image. As you can see in the search image, the point is not in the correct spot. To correct this, I will add a marker over the ice in the search image, and select Shift to Marker in the Navigator tab. The point has now been shifted to the correct spot over the ice in the search image. Now I am going to collect data at one grid square using the beam image shift method. To do this, I will use the hole finder in SerialEM. First, I will measure the size of the quantifoil holes in the search image. I will then enter the hole size and spacing in the hole finder dialog panel. To find the holes, just click on Find Holes. I recommend always testing the hole finder before using it. Now, I will run script 42 Hole Hunter to help set up the multi-shot. You could also use the multi-shot record dialog to do this if you prefer. I will set up a 5x5 array to collect up to 25 movies per stage shift, as shown in the multiple record dialog. To run the script, click the Run icon in the script panel. After it finishes, it should look like this, with points added over the quantifoil holes in 5 by 5 regular pattern. As an alternative to using the hole finder, you can manually add points to the search image and mark the points as acquire in the navigator. I will sometimes do this if I want to do a quick data collection. Before I start collecting data, I will copy and view image of a single quantifoil hole into buffer P. You can do this by taking a view image, or loading an old image, and copy it to buffer P. To copy an image to a buffer, simply click on the buffer letter you wish to copy the image to. Before I set up a data collection, I check the camera parameters. I am cropping the view into a square so that it contains a single quantifoil hole in the center. You can verify the hole center procedure by running the script hole center as shown. Now I am going to adjust the position of the focus area. Just a quick explanation, when you autofocus in low-dose mode, you want to move the beam away from the record area to prevent overexposing the sample to electrons. Otherwise, you will damage the sample. To do this, I will select Define Position of Area Focus in the low-dose panel. I am setting the area of focus over the carbon film and away from the quantifoil holes so that the beam will not illuminate any of the holes when we autofocus. I always do this before setting up a data collection. Okay, we are almost there. Before I start the data collection script, I will check the camera parameters. Under Record, make sure to check Save Frames, and save the frames to a new directory in the parent directory, K3 Data. As shown in the window, the name of each movie will be the date, followed by the navigator item, followed by the position in the multi-shot. I normally save the movies as LZW, compressed TIFFs. Also, make sure to uncheck Align Frames. Okay, now I am going to start the data collection using Script Data Collection version 6. Before we start, I am going to check the settings in the script. If you are not sure what the setting mean, please ask a core staff for help. Normally I don't change any of the settings other than touch of carbon. To run the script, select Acquire at Items under the Navigator tab. In the Acquire at Items dialog under Final Data tab, select Run Script Data Collection version 6. Also, check Run Script Multi-Shot Filter Threshold before running primary action. If you run the multi-shot filter threshold script, I would check script settings. Here I set the threshold to 15, so that any point with less than 15 movies per stage shift will be skipped during the data collection. In some cases, you won't want to run the multi-shot filter threshold script. To start the data collection, click on Run on the Acquire Items dialog. Okay, this looks fine to me. At this point, I normally will start CryoSpark Live to process the data in real time. To set up an overnight data collection at multiple grid squares, you will repeat this procedure using the script hole finder. First you will add points over each grid square in the full grid montage. I typically will pick grid squares with thin ice and avoid grid squares that are cracked, have uneven ice, or close to the edge of the stage limits. Once you have added points to the grid squares, mark them as acquire in the navigator panel. I also like to update the Z height for each of the points. Now run Acquire at Items under the Navigator tab. This time select the tab mapping in the Acquire at Items dialog. In the primary actions, run script hole finder. Also, check Manage Doers Vacuum under Task before or after primary. To start the script, click Run. This will take about 1.5 hours to complete or about 2.5 minutes for each grid square. Okay, so at this point, I normally inspect the full grid montage, navigator panel, and maps, and the points marked Acquire. If there were any errors or if any of the points were placed over a grid square with thick ice, I will delete them from the navigator. Now to run the data collection script as we did earlier in this video.